Matters of fact versus relations of ideas. So perhaps the best way to introduce this distinction is to start off with some examples, some canonic examples of things that Hume would have considered to be matters of fact, and contrast them with things that Hume would have considered to be relations of ideas. First example of a matter of fact. That it's sunny outside. Second example. That Barack Obama was last year elected President of the United States. Third example. That MIT is in Cambridge. These are all examples of matters of fact. Relations of ideas. First example. In Euclidean space, the area of the square of the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle is equivalent to the sum of the areas of the squares of the adjacent sides of the triangle. Second example. All siblings have siblings. Those are both true things that are, according to Hume, relations of ideas. What distinguishes these categories? What makes one thing a relation of ideas and another a matter of fact? Hume said several things about this. First thing he said, the matters of fact are knowable a posteriori, and the relations of ideas are knowable a priori. What did he mean by this? Well, when something is knowable a posteriori, our justification for believing it derives in some way from our having had a distinctive kind of experience. So, if you asked me, why am I justified in believing that it's sunny outside? I'd have to say, well, because I saw that it was sunny outside when I was just there. Because I felt the heat of the sun on my skin. These are justifications that I might give for believing that it's sunny outside. On the other hand, if you ask me, what justification do you have for believing that all siblings have siblings? I wouldn't appeal to any kind of experience I've ever had. What I'd have to do is say, well, it's just part of what it is to be a sibling, to have siblings. It's just part of our idea of what it is to be a sibling, that if you're a sibling, then you have a sibling. I don't need to go out and check all the siblings in the world, of whom there are billions, and just go through one by one and see, oh, does this one have a sibling? Yes. Does this one have a sibling? Yes. And finally get through the whole list to be able to say, oh, now I know that all siblings have siblings. No experience is needed, just an understanding of the idea of what it is to be a sibling. Okay, so that was the first idea. Second thought that Hume had. Matters of fact are contingently true. They could have been false. Relations of ideas are necessarily true. They couldn't have been false. So it might have been that Barack Obama lost the last election. It might have been that it was raining outside. These matters of fact could have been false. They're actually true, but they could have been false. By contrast, the relations of ideas, it couldn't have been that there was a triangle with the square of whose hypotenuse was substantially bigger than the sum of the squares of the adjacent sides. It just couldn't be. There couldn't be a sibling who doesn't have any siblings. Okay, so that was Hume's second thought. His third thought, again connected to the first two, was that the matters of fact are such that we can conceive of them being false, and the relations of ideas are such that we can't conceive of them being false. So I can certainly conceive of what it would be for Barack Obama to have lost that last election. I can't conceive of what it would be for there to be a triangle such that a Pythagorean theorem is not true of it. One way to sort of get a handle on what Hume was thinking here is to think of stories. Can you flesh out a story in your mind in full and vivid detail and imagine what it would be such for the story to be true in which the thing is false? I can flesh out a story in my head according to which Barack Obama lost that election. I can't really flesh out a story in my head according to which the Pythagorean theorem is false of a triangle. I mean, you can say, you know, here's my story. There's this triangle, and the Pythagorean theorem is false of it. It's got this enormous hypotenuse. It's a right-angled triangle, and it's got this enormous hypotenuse and teeny two sides. And that's how things are. Of course, I understood you just told me that story, but I can't really flesh out the story in my head in the sense that I can't imagine what it would be in full detail for that story to be true, because at a certain point, when I try to do it, I start trying to imagine that triangle, and then my brain just stops. I've got the hypotenuse, and then I've got the teeny two sides, and then I've got the fact that it's right angled, and I can no longer keep everything straight in my head. Everything just fails. Likewise for siblings. I try to imagine what it would be for a sibling to have no siblings. I imagine this person, and I imagine them being a sibling, so I imagine them having a sibling, and then I'm told that they can't have a sibling, and my brain just stops. I can't fill out the details of the story in my imagination. Okay. Relations of ideas, matters of fact. Within the category of matters of fact, Hume said there are two interesting subcategories. There's the matters of fact that he called observed, and the matters of fact that he called unobserved. An observed matter of fact is a matter of fact such that a justification for believing it comes directly from experience. So you might ask me, we're walking in a sunny day, and I believe that it's sunny outside, and you say, why do you believe it's sunny outside? What justification do you have for believing it's sunny outside? And I just say, look, I can see it's sunny outside. Feel the heat of the sun on my skin. It's sunny outside. That's an observed matter of fact, because there's no better justification that I have for believing it than just that I'm seeing that it's true. I'm having an experience that vindicates my belief in it. An unobserved matter of fact is a matter of fact that I get justification from believing indirectly from experience. So here's an unobserved matter of fact concerning the weather outside for me. I'm right now, this is true, in a room with no windows, and the lights are artificial, and so I don't have any direct experiences right now concerning the weather. Yet I believe it is sunny outside. Why do I believe it? Well, for two reasons. First, the forecast was that all afternoon it would be sunny outside. Second, half an hour ago, when I came in here, it was sunny outside. I experienced the sun. I saw the sun. And weather typically doesn't change that quickly. So either of these serve as justifications for my now believing that it's sunny outside. And both of these justifications are such that an experience of mine plays an important role. In the first case, it's an experience I had of looking at the little weather forecaster on our kitchen table. The second case is an experience I had of seeing the sun half an hour ago. But in both cases, the justifications are indirect. I need the experience plus some inferential machinery in order to justify my believing that it's sunny outside. And Hume says that's the characteristic feature of an unobserved matter of fact.